Reviewer absent. Initiating protocol. Sending pre-recorded video.
Yes, my my pretties. Eat so you can grow. And then I'll be the leader at the gym next to my work.
I really wanted to like Hansel and Gretel, I really did, but... nope. Hansel and Gretel Shadow and Sting is an attempt to produce a Brazilian manga, and I do appreciate anything like this because we do need more original quality publishing around here. And that's the problem, Hansel and Gretel isn't original and has questionable quality. My idea here was to bring a positive review of a national product for September 7, this date that actually doesn't mean much. Unfortunately, if we want good comics, we need to point out the problems of the not-so-good ones. And before we start, I'm not saying it's horrible. It's a 4 out of 10 in general, 5.5 if you really like realistic fantasy in fairy tale scenarios. And if it's done better in the second one, it could really work because there's a lot of potential here. So if you want to read it, I'm going to warn you before getting into heavy spoilers. But let's go. First of all, the art is interesting. It isn't bad, but it's a bit confused. While most of the time it looks somewhat average, but with a focus on the eyes, here and there the eyes gets less focus or way too much. It seems like the artists followed the line of Bucky, and if you haven't seen Bucky, think One Piece a bit slower and with less inflatable breasts. Only these faces, made to get your attention even from farther away, don't contrast with slender bodies and don't have super cartoony designs. This face says it all.
Oh, why am I wearing so many clothes if they seem to weigh more than me?
On the cover they don't seem to be a problem, but they are closer to the bodies and with color to help contrast with their faces, though the white background kills it. The feeling I'm left with is that in the hurry to get the job done, and this project took over 7 years to come out, so hurrying might be justified, the artist, and the writer way more, didn't check their ideas very well. For example, in the first fight scene, Hansel punching someone like this, which to me looks like... On the next page, a full body movement gets 2 sets of lines, which is better, but really made me think it was something like... Just look at this panel. Hansel blocks a punch, punching against its trajectory, which suggests move lines like these. The art, on the other hand, suggests... A maybe clearer example is this. The day starts, Gretel yawns, and the cat wakes up with the noise. Now tell me, when they do this, the cats kneel, the back is convex instead of concave, the tail is relaxed. There's also the cardboard weapon that turns into the Max's claw. Or if that's not clear enough, here's the magic sword. It cuts down on its long edge, but it comes out of a puncture hole. Maybe that's why this cut doesn't leave the enemy one-handed and causes the same damage of a small knife. For more details, see page 41.
No! Não! Agora meu dedão vai ficar coçando o dia todo.
The proportions also get weird. If you look at this page, how tall is this girl? She doesn't seem to be super tall, but does look like an adult, doesn't she? Her brother on the same page is shown being shorter than this man, so maybe younger, but would you say they are the same height? It was quite confusing to me because this and this are supposed to be 2 consecutive moments. Maybe they're short, but slightly below an adult's height does not children make. Manga allows for that a lot, with 12-year-olds drawn as being 8, teens drawn as adults, and Gon's master. Which is, damn, And first I thought that was the case, but reading through it, it appears to be an attempt to do this. Using perspective is a great way to show through the difference in size the feeling a character gets. And in visual arts, you can manipulate the image even further and imply vastness or lack of space. In these specific cases and a couple more, it works. In many others, it seems forced. If you weren't tried so much, it'd probably work better because it does work sometimes, but it ends up getting diluted by the frequency. The script has some similar problems, especially when it comes to colloquialism, references, and tropes. Most of the time it's somewhat neutral, but out of the blue a character throws one or two informal words. Maybe it's because I work with language, but it was really noticeable to me. The biggest example is a mercenary called Robin Locksley, who doesn't even wear a hood. First, he is presented using a hunter trope, which is not uncommon in manga by the way, calling the main characters bunnies. This idea is forgotten before the end of that fight. He speaks almost always in a pretty neutral way, though with questionable grammar in a couple of moments, but occasionally changing the formality level because bichano and moleque are as formal as tô te procurando and até que você é bom, or furtar and conhecendo seu histórico criminal. Many of the references and tropes are also harmless and some seem to be setting something for the future, and there are some ideas really well used. To me, this seems to be the only character well presented. She has a reference in her presentation and just after, the premise isn't particularly new, and still, I don't find it a problem. She doesn't overstay her welcome, she's not too forced, so it works. Yet...
Salutations, Robin Locksley, leader of the mercenaries of Sherwood Base.
Good to know that my fame got to the thief of thieves. Huh. Look, administrators from 3 districts hired me to capture you, Ian. But you're kinda good at hiding your trail. What relic or rare piece were you going to pilfer?
Pilfer? Don't get it wrong, mercenary. By the way, what a beautiful smile you have, huh?
You're not my kind, little thief. Go away, go away!
Hee hee.
Really? You really thought it was natural to have someone ready to fight saying this out of the blue? This joke usually works before the combat position, and normally the person offering themselves is suggesting sex as a price for avoiding combat or protecting from the fight, like Genia.
Mas posso evitar o drama, se aquela formosa dama esta noite me servir.
That not considering the man who needs to stop and count because he doesn't know that people don't have 4 arms. Maybe a fan of Mortal Kombat? However, the worst really was the lack of originality in the story. Let's see, brothers traveling in search of something, attacked on the orders of a bishop... Yep. Hansel is just Edward without using alchemy. Gretel, on the other hand, sometimes seems to not care about the world, while other times she seems to be the awesome woman who only cares about herself, so... Huh? And a couple more characters that... Besides that, we really don't have a story in the first one. The only thing in focus that gets development is the search for their father, which is apparently going to be the whole journey. We have characters that show up for an instant and don't do anything, one of them literally only there for the exposition and give an interest to another character into the plot, which I imagine is going to be a villain just because it would be interesting, or Mega Man. And if the author is listening, think more Red Hood and less all the other characters. Think less Pollux and Polys and more Bag. Yeah, something else that's well done here is the bag. These characters, which are obviously strong, carry together a bag without ever mentioning it. What could make them have to share the weight? This is setting something for the future. This bag can easily go by unnoticed and come back at any other point without problems. Listen closely, Slimer. I want you to go back home and get us our bag. But without these two details, I wouldn't have a reason to talk positively about the manga. Except maybe that I appreciate the guts to put in dark stuff to scare the reader. Sometimes. But, Shakaman Stone Fetus? Falling! Are you saying that this baby fell on the floor and broke? Oh, and I can't close my copy after one read. 1.5 if you count choosing the panels. No, I hadn't scanned it when I recorded this. End of the day, I can't recommend the story or the art here because a Warner fazendo o filme da DC, a estratégia deles é: vamos fazer um troço que vão dizer que é maneiro. Nada que você faz para ser maneiro é maneiro, porque não dá pra você fazer esse tipo de coisa. Você tem que fazer alguma coisa boa, e aí um tipo de pessoa vai gostar mais daquilo. And if somebody can define the problem before seeing your product, it's a big issue. But before somebody comes with the horrible idea of you're just not being patriotic, this is a Japanese medium using Germanic tales as a basis in a steampunk scenario which was inspired by English and French authors. But if your idea of patriotism is just thinking it's good because it's from your country, yep. But the CP is over 8,000! Nope. 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 5.5 if you really like realistic fantasy in fairy tale scenario. Let's see, brotherless. But before somebody comes with the horrible idea of you're just not being patriotic. Oh damn. Oh, it wasn't a train. I stopped for nothing. Even better. And if someone can define the problem before seeing your Why media? Why media comes to my mind as a product? This is a Japanese medium using Germanic... Oh shit! When I'm getting it, the train finally comes. God damn it, 4. Why 4 suddenly?